Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering BelAir, that is currently streaming on Peacock. This is season 4, episode 3. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Like this video, you can subscribe, and leave your comments below. Let's get into this episode. All right, y'all. So, we left off in the last episode where Carlton and Will have been arrested. Well, now they're having their day in court. While in the courtroom, both Carlton and Will are pleading for forgiveness, and they take full responsibility for their actions. The judge showed mercy towards them, as they both have a keen interest in joining prestigious universities, and hence he did not give them prison life. However, they are assigned to a youth division program called Promising Choice to do community service, which they are very relieved and so thankful and all that good stuff. Their driving privileges are canceled, and they are given a warning for good behavior. So after court is over with, or at least it's been adjourned, Will looks at the back, and guess who's there? Lou. Lou was at court, which is Will's father, if you don't know. Lou was at court and was happy his son would not have to face prison time like him. Will ends up asking his father to join them for Thanksgiving at the Banks house. Meanwhile, back at the house, Hillary tells Vivian over FaceTime that she can't make it to Thanksgiving dinner as all flights out of Costa Rica are grounded. And it looks like this is the first time that Coco Jones will not be at the house during the holidays. Viv will miss her, as she was the one who took care of the dinner every time. But Viv also reveals that she missed court on purpose, as she didn't want to see her son and nephew throw their future away. Viv is also upset with Ashley and her recent behavior, not at her college, at the homecoming. Carlton and Ashley decide to prepare a dinner and take charge of making their mother happy. Carlton has a good talk with Ashley at that point, because she's being nonchalant about some of the stuff that she's done. But hey, lady, you really are putting a family through something that they don't really have to go through. And look, some of that stuff is not good. Will and I are going to be out of the house. Hillary's already out of the house. You're kind of the only person here. And with them having a baby, mom is going to need you. That kind of gets her in a different mode as to how to actually think about life and how she's operating. And we'll see how she behaves later on in this episode. Jeffrey brings a turkey to Phil's house and says that he will have to skip dinner as he has some duty calls, as we know. In reality, he felt ashamed and responsible for Will's kidnapping. And he went to a bar and drank while reminiscing about his old memories of how he and Phil first met. I thought that was a cool aspect. We're getting flashbacks of how there was even how did this actually happen between Jeffrey and Phil. He feels grateful to Phil, as back in the days when Jeffrey couldn't return to his family for some reason because he wasn't giving all the details, but he was running away from his responsibilities, and that's why we've even gotten to this point where now the organization is back on him, making sure that he pays his debt. In the flashback, we see that Phil invited Jeffrey to his house for Thanksgiving with Vivian and little Hillary. And even at the time, Vivian is pregnant with Carlton, but I think she also thought it was going to be another girl. I think if I remember that correctly, but y'all can correct me in the comments. At that time, they were still in Philly at the time, and I think that they were trying to look for a way to get things started for his law firm, as that they needed a loan, but they were denied loans, especially during that time, especially for being black at that time. Jeffrey ends up helping Phil get his loan approved from the bank and to start his business. Also, I did take note here that I think possibly Jeffrey did help the judge, convince the judge to not give Will and Carlton prison time. So the Banks and Will were enjoying their family time in the kitchen when they realized that Phil made a silly mistake of not turning on the oven to cook the turkey. I think while they were cooking, they were singing the song, everybody, ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough, ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Yeah. So when they realized that the turkey was not being cooked, Lou arrives at that moment and saves the situation by suggesting a deep frying turkey. I say, yeah, let's get it, Lou. At the garden over beers, Phil and Lou share a conversation that gets heated up. Lou wants to take his authority of being Will's father and look after him, especially with this whole ordeal of him possibly getting arrested and serving prison time. While Phil doesn't want Lou and Liv or Vi to co-parent Will all of a sudden. This is when Lou tells Phil that he got a job opportunity in Philly, but he doesn't know how to tell Will. In the kitchen, Carlton and Ashley, yeah, I went a little bit ahead of what I had here in my notes. They share a sibling moment. Carlton says Ashley is going to be a big sister soon, so she has to step up. The parents have high hopes with her, especially since things went so wrong with Carlton. She did mention him being a cokehead. I was like, ooh, Ashley. She said she wasn't trying to hurt his feelings, but he didn't take it that way. I probably would have, But anyways, in Will's room, he shows his collection of Jordan shoes to Lou and tells him how Uncle Phil is helping him with investments and stocks. They talked about books and concerts while Lou was preparing himself to tell his departure news to Will, but his thoughts remained stranded as for the first time, Will called Lou dad. I said, no, that was shocking. So at that point, he was amazed that was going on, and then now he's got to tell his son that he's leaving. He couldn't bear his son possibly being heartbroken and things. He thought that it would be one step forward, two steps back. So he relinquished on even actually saying anything to him about him leaving. Lou did ask, why are you calling me Lou? Or calling me Dad? He said, it now feels natural. And we have a lot of catching up to do. He did recommend this book of a guy that went to prison and ended up he was an entrepreneur. I think he was in the stock markets or something to that nature, but yeah. And that's what he's going to do. In this episode, we see a kind of hostility between Phil and Lou as they are trying to win a who is the best father competition. And they're taking a lot of digs at each other at the table, but it was kind of cool because it is Thanksgiving. Look, you just got to be prepared for insults and all that stuff to be happening at a Thanksgiving. Now I don't do it, but I understand that stuff does happen. So during the trivia game or the dinner table or at the dinner table prayers, we find Phil and Lou are constantly arguing, putting each other down, and trying to prove that they are better fathers than one another. Things get heated up, and Phil accidentally mentions that Lou is leaving. He was being petty, and he was trying to really stick it to Lou, and to see that possibly Will lose some type of respect for Lou at this point. Did I say Will or Lou? But anyways, it's Will that we're talking about. Will is hurt by this as he expected to spend more time with his father, finally. With disappointment, Will says to his father, do what you got to do, and he storms off. So at the porch, Will and Carlton share a heartfelt conversation about their roller coaster life lately. Carlton tells how life is not always about the ride, being perfect, but it is about staying on. This motivates Will, and he went back to sort things out with his father. Carlton also advises, can you believe that Carlton is the voice of reason? I love it. Carlton advises Phil that his resentment with Lou is justified, but competing against each other is not. You are better together. Carlton also shares how he was jealous of Will at the beginning when Phil gave him more attention. But with time, he released Will, and Carlton have different things to offer, and they are better together. Meaning you could do this, Phil, as a father and mentor, and also Lou has something to offer as father and mentor to his son. So y'all can come together, you do your style, and he can do his style, and it takes a village. That is the message that is really screaming in this episode. So Lou and Phil, they make amends, but Vivian got on Lou because Viv was like, look, I know that Phil didn't do right at the table, but guess what? Phil was in your corner back in the Philly days. When you and Vi were really going at it, he was the one that was championing for you for Vi to keep giving you chances after chances after chances. Until the last straw that broke the camel's back, where it just like Phil was just like F it, and I'm paraphrasing at this point. But yeah, you need to take accountability for how you have been, for real, sir. So Lou and Phil, they make amends while Will and Lou share their father and son bonding over piano tunes. I think it was Aunt Viv that said that, or maybe it was Uncle Phil that said that Will is into music and all that good stuff. And we find out that Lou also has that musical gift. We also see Jeffrey coming back to the house, and Phil repairs his bond with him by saying that Jeffrey will always have a seat at their table, as they are always better together. Phil also makes a promise to Vivian that he will fix everything with the laundry mess and will go back to their simpler times. He has a plan, and he needs Viv to trust him. Lou did encourage Will to not to give up on basketball. Will play basketball again with his father's voice looming in, saying, "Control your controllables." That was a part of the advice that he was given during this episode. I would say the theme of this episode was forgiving, accepting, and also having a fresh start. I thought it was really cool for Jeffrey to be in the Banks corner, and now I understand a little bit more of their brotherhood type of relationship. And I think I understand Jeffrey's need for Uncle Phil to really come through for him, because look, I came through for you during a time where, hey, that you really needed somebody. So that was very interesting. I would say in both of those instances, I was really emotional. I was emotional for even Lou to even get that dad. Someone who did mess up is now back repairing the right way and giving Will the space and opportunity to come back to him and to return love where he was angry and all of that, and to heal where he actually hurt Will. I thought it's been beautiful all this time. So kudos to the writers for this arc. You know, he is going back to Philly, so I think that's still a good sign. I know that him and Vi will, I don't know if they're going to be around each other or what. I don't think they're going to get back together. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen by the end of the season. But anyways, he's somewhere familiar, and hopefully if Vi wants to, because there's still a lot of unhealed stuff between them. Maybe keep an eye on him, or somehow they can check in with each other, you know? But yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, this episode was very good. I give it a 10. I think last week's episode was a good, you know, because it was concentrated on the youth more. I'll give it a 10 too. One was more of a recap and moving forward and stuff, but really they set it off in episodes 2 and 3. And I do have a favorite character. I will reveal it by the end of this series. So y'all can stay tuned to that. But please give me what you thought of this episode. You know, I thought it was good, heartwarming. We did miss Hillary, Miss Coco. I don't know if it was a filming situation with Miss Coco, because I think she was on a little mini tour at the time. She's on tour now with Brandy and Monica, so I don't know what's going on. But anyways, that's all I do have. Thank you for stopping by. I will see you next week for episode 4. Again, please like this video. You can also subscribe and leave your comments below. And then, oh wait, did I forget? No, I forgot something. Let's back it up. Aunt Viv and Ashley, they finally had a heart-to-heart. Ashley's finally opening up. Now, normally, Ashley would open up to Hillary, but Hillary's not around. So she finally just lets it out as to Ashley's just trying to find herself, and she doesn't really know. She doesn't want to be under the wings of, or the clout, or the coattails of Hillary and Carlton. And Aunt Viv was able to pour back into Ashley and to tell her who you are. You get your identity from your parents. If your parents can't speak into you and all that, then they aren't really into you like that. They just gave you DNA. But she poured back into her daughter, and I thought that was really cool. She laid up with her daughter in bed, and that was cool. But anyways, that's all I got. And you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you next week. And until then, peace.